Okay, hello guys, it's Marina here. I am back for another video. I'm trying to work out some of my upload problems. I think I've gotten some of that taken care of, so hopefully I will be able to post more frequently. I've been spending some time thinking about what I wanted to do with my channel. There's a lot of content creators that I follow that I love and enjoy, who make a lot of content about, commenting on news stories. But I wanted to try to go a little bit further than that, and I wanted to try to talk about things that I feel like are solution oriented. We all, I think, in the last several years, maybe some more recently than others, have had such awakenings, and we are starting to realize so many truths that are out there, but it can be overwhelming and we don't know exactly what to do about it. So today we've got kind of a hybrid show. I am going to talk about a question that I hear asked over and over, primarily of presidential candidate Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance and most of the Republican surrogates. And here is the question that they like to ask. How are you going to mass deport 20 million illegals? Are you going to mass deport 20 million illegals? Now, I have not heard any of I haven't heard any of the candidates or surrogates give a straight answer to that question. And I know it's a setup. I know it's a trick question. You know it's a setup. You know it's a trick question. And most of the time what they will do is start talking about criminals and things of that nature. But I think we all know that just getting the criminals out, even if there's 2 or 3 million of them, that doesn't go anywhere near far enough. Let's just be honest. They will have us think and believe that it is cruel to tell people that they have to leave and to remove them and send them back home. And so today I am going to tell you how that is accomplished. And more than anything, I welcome comments from people telling me whether or not you think this will work and why or why not. How about that? Now, one thing we know about President Trump is that he lays down the law for his policies. People believe him and people take various actions based on the policies that he articulates. We know that that was a big part of why the border problems that we have now didn't exist under the Trump administration, because Trump said, don't come, it won't be good. The other side said, please come, we'll take care of you. And even when they tried to pretend like they didn't want people to come over, the actions that they took made clear to people that if you get here, we'll take care of you. And of course, once that started to happen, the word started to spread and people had no reason to expect anything other than exactly what they got, which was the red carpet was rolled out for them and they were able to take advantage of all of the benefits that we were simply giving out. Terrible. Now, I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy who said, I have not read his book, but he made me want to read his book with this comment, that one of the things that we know about the people who are here illegally now, or people who are here on some kind of protected status, is that they are perfectly okay with dishonesty in furtherance of what they want. And so even without all of the other criminal elements that Donald Trump articulated back in 2015, we know that at the very minimum, we have invited a dishonest element, because there are people who make great sacrifices to come here legally. So those people who are not going to do that, regardless of whether or not the door is open. I mean, if you leave your house open or you leave your car unlocked, many people will pass on by without violating that space, even though it's unlocked. But there's always someone who will violate that space. And so what we've done is we've invited, or basically swung open the doors for people who are willing to violate certain social norms, and that cannot end well. It can't end well. So, and it's not ending well. So we don't really have to guess about, or speculate. It's not ending well. It's not going well. So how do you mass deport 20 plus million people? And I'm going to explain exactly how you do that. I'm not an expert in the details of immigration law. There may be some laws that need to be changed in order to accomplish this. But look, either we're going to get this done or we're not going to get this done. And as I think it was Matt Gaetz who said, I'm not here to nip and tuck around the edges. That's not going to get us where we need to go. We all know that there are people who pretend that we need to nip tuck around the edges and don't rock the boat too much because they don't actually want to fix the problem. If there's one thing that we learned from President Trump, it was that a lot of these problems that they've been pretending for decades in some cases just simply cannot be fixed. It's too hard. It's going to take too long, that he can get it done and it can be done relatively quickly. So that's something that we learned. So the answer to the question is yes. Law enforcement, as Trump said, with local law enforcement, federal law enforcement will work together and they will handle the criminals. And I think that we need to bear down to the bare minimum. I think that there should be no crime that's too small to be, eligible for deportation. But I think that for those people who are here, we need to treat them like squatters and tell them that they need to leave. And I would recommend this, and I want to be very specific about what I'm proposing because I want people to be able to legitimately attack what I'm saying and what I think will work so that together, hopefully we can refine it and perfect it and make it actually work. These people are going to self-deport. Okay. So you, first and foremost, you start identifying federal lands where we can build prisons, and then you start building them. And most people, if you know anything about building, a building can be put up very, very quickly. And so you tell them, you guys, if you're here illegally, you're in the country illegally, you need to self-deport, and you've got 6 months. Maybe we can give a year. Maybe we can have stages and tiers of the time that people have to leave based on various factors. How long have they been here? I think that we hash that out based on what the trends are and, what different things are. But at the end of the day, it ought to be, last in, first out. Maybe we only give people who have been here in the last year 90 days. But all in all, I think that there ought to be a maximum amount of time. I don't think it should be long. I think that people should have the option to come forward and request something, but I still think that they need to be required to self-deport. And if they want to come forward, they do so at their own risk. And now I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are saying, well, they're not going to do that. Well, okay, but how about if we do this? If you are caught in this country illegally, after your period has expired, if we catch you, if you ran a stop sign, if you had tail lights out, you get a minimum sentence of 20 years in prison. How about then? Now, naturally, they're going to believe that, well, we're never going to do that. So the obvious thing is that we have to start doing that. 20 years. That means that if you have children, then you will miss them growing up. People have to take their children with them. Now, I believe that if people go back home and they're given the tools to fix their own countries, I don't know that most people would want to flee. I don't. But if the children do want to come back, I think we need to create a process for that, and we need to have some kind of a way to allow them to return at 18 if they're self-sufficient. Now, you could say, well, you have to change the law with regard to what is citizenship. We're not going to kick the children out. We're going to tell the parents, if you leave your children here and you abandon them here, you're going to be criminally prosecuted in absentia. And the only reason that people have been getting away with doing what they're doing is because we've allowed them to do that. So they will never be able to come back. They won't even have we need to pass a law that if you're convicted of crimes like that, you can never come back. So even if their children reach the age of majority and they do decide that they want to come back to the United States, they will never be able to bring their parents with them if they abandon their children or if they're caught, in the country past the date. So we need to make it so punitive for people to stay that they're not willing to, then they'll leave. And the people who don't, will lock them up. And we probably don't have to build 20 million cells, prison cells. Because once people start seeing that they're actually going to be locked up, then they're going to go. Tell me they're not. I believe they will. Because they didn't come here to spend 20 years in prison. I think you lock up the first million, probably wouldn't even have to do that many. Once people realize that if they get caught, it's indiscriminate. And these people have applied for driver's license. Their information is all over the place. Their, asylum, whatever it is, people who got deportation orders, it will become much easier to find them. It will be much more difficult for them to just wander around like they are now in sanctuary cities. And I think that, you can't just decide that you're going to give people sanctuary. Imagine if we had a city or a state that decided that they wanted to be a sanctuary for pedos. Will we allow that? I'm not comparing someone who crossed the country illegally to a pedo, but the point is, if you are going to give people who have committed a crime sanctuary somewhere, that's where they're going to go. And then they will have no deterrent to committing whatever crime they want to commit. Okay? And so we have to remove all the perks, all the deterrent, all the benefits of being here illegally. And then people will leave on their own. Now, let's address the last part. Is this cruel? I don't think it's cruel. Just because someone has gotten away with something for a long time doesn't make it cruel to tell them, okay, time's up. The gig is up. You got to make it right now. I don't think that's cruel. What's cruel is forcing Americans without consent to live with this problem forever. They want us to live with this problem that they've created on purpose forever, for all of the problems that may bring. That's cruel. That is cruel. People who did nothing wrong, people who followed the rules, people who've been working hard, that pay their taxes into the system, and this is barely about taxes. Finally, people are asking the question, well, who's going to do the work? Well, Americans are going to do the work. I believe in social safety nets. But I don't think that everyone who is stuck with nothing but a social safety net that's all that they want to do or all that they can do. So Americans are going to do those jobs. Illegal immigrants are going to do those jobs. And we need to make teen work great again. A lot of the times people are like, well, nobody's going to do this job. I watched a documentary of a guy, and he was a mushroom farmer. And he was talking about how many of the mushrooms that he would grow would go bad because he didn't have anybody to pick them. Well, I don't know what the cost, it made no sense to me whatsoever. I don't know whether or not the amount of mushrooms that he was allowing to go bad were worth more or less than what he would have to pay to train people and hire them. But if that were me, I would go and raid a high school because they're going to go bad. I'm going to be like, when you're in high school, money that's not a lot of money to someone who's an adult that has their own obligations and expenses and obligations, when all of your money is disposable income, like a lot of us when we are working when we're in high school, the amount of money that you're willing to accept and that you're happy with is very, very different than someone who's, 25 and has 2 kids that they got to take care of. So why didn't he raid a high school? We've turned in valuable work-life experiences for high school students for mindless homework. It's absolutely absurd. And, when my daughter was in high school, before high school, I remember thinking how pointless this homework was. And I've read many studies that say that this homework is pointless. Why don't we let the kids work? I had my first job at Montgomery Ward when I was 15 years old. Now, I wanted to work so bad that I actually said I was 16 in order to get the job. I wasn't quite so successful at that job, but I did enjoy it. And it was a good experience. I did learn a lot from being there. You know, at the time, the minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. All of it was mine. I got to keep it except for what was taken out in taxes. So that real life experience, my mom, when she was 12 years old, she picked cotton. It was not degrading to her. She got paid to pick cotton. I asked her how she came to get that job. My mom passed away last year. But she lived with me for the years leading up to when she died. For several years, she lived with me, and we had a lot of good conversations. I got to know her a lot better. And one day I asked her, you know, I knew for many years I had known that she had picked cotton when she was a little girl. I asked her how she had come to get that job. And she said that the guy, one of the men in the neighborhood who owned a cotton farm, he came around in his truck looking to see if any kids wanted to work. And she said yes one day, and she said she was very good at it. She was very fast, and she enjoyed doing it, and she got paid. Her dad let her go. She would go with a couple of her siblings, and they would go to work. They did know each other. My mom was from a very small town in Texas, so you know, everybody knew everybody. The man, he would come and pick up some kids, and he would take them to work. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. You learn the value of work. You learn that sense of satisfaction that you get from accomplishing something. My mom would tell me stories about how she'd get competitive. She's like, I want to get to the end of the road before anybody else. I want to be the fastest cotton picker out here. No, every kid is not going to enjoy that and be competitive in that. But there's so many different things that need to be done. We don't, you know, I heard recently, I think it's Bill Clinton talking about how we don't have enough people and we need immigrants because people are not having enough babies. Well, how about we just encourage policies? You know, we put in policies that encourage people to have more children. This seems really, really simple to me. And I believe that the people who are talking this nonsense, they know that these problems are simple to fix. They know this. They don't want to fix them. So they're hoping that you won't think any further than the information that they've given to you, and that you will think, oh boy, that problem is overwhelming. We can't fix it. I guess we'll just have to let everybody stay. You okay with that? I've known people who were here illegally. I don't hate them. Some of them are decent, I guess. You know, like I said, I mean, I know a lot of people who have made mistakes and have not stayed that person. But either way, it's a mistake, and we've got to fix it. And we have to fix it in a way that hopefully for, you know, 100, 200, 500 years into the future, people will not allow it to happen again. So I look forward to hearing your comments. Like, I really look forward to hearing your comments. I was going to wait to make this video until my channel was a little bit bigger, but I feel led to make this video and put this video out now. So I hope that people will see it. I hope people will share it. I hope people will comment on it. I hope people will expand on it. And throw in your suggestions in the comment about, yeah, we can do that. And here's another way that we can make it more successful. We can fix these problems. We don't have to accept them. We should not accept them. If we continue to accept them, they will continue to happen. And 4 years from now, after Donald Trump finishes his second term, we may have someone really great that comes into office, but you know they will start the creep right again, right away, if we don't put things in place so that the incentive to go down that road is removed forever, or at least for any foreseeable future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.